Live?
And
Hi, Lorelai. Come on in.
we're live now. Okay.
So, what I was saying, for those of you that were at Bill Kennedy's business planning clinic last week, we discussed the budget model, the economic model, and lead generation model, and we're going to talk about all that today. So, there was a question I asked on Facebook. Think about 2020 is going to be your greatest year ever. Think about what you want to take home. What is your net goal, net dollar goal, right? You know, we talked about that, and that's what we're going to start. So we're going to start with the end and work backwards. And from that, we're going to talk about what you need by calculating your expenses and cost of sales, how much gross commission income you have to make to earn that net. And there's a lot of things involved on this spreadsheet that. Did that try too?
Wanted to save on
It's going real well.
Just to go back to this net thing,
Please, Joe.
a lot of, we talk about that, and I think sometimes people think just trying to focus on your business when you look at that, but
I think
really, you really need to go,
Did you get one, Tiff?
Oh, no.
you
I'm
really,
so wait, what is your name?
you really,
Let's get going.
you really need to go back to what that net's going, what you're gonna do with that net. So you
Yep.
need to know what your living expenses are, what's the cost to feed, clothe, and house you, for starters, at a bare minimum, right?
Yep.
And then, but what's your other, we always talk about our big whys, and, you know, most people, their big, some of the big things in their big whys could be retirement.
Yep.
If they got kids, maybe college.
Yep.
What's your transportation situation look like? Do you need to start planning to buy a new vehicle?
Yeah.
And you put all those things together, and then you can figure out what that net needs to be to cover all that stuff that you either need or want.
One thing that we typically aren't covering in here that Dave just talked about is that your net goal is what they all also call EB, what is it, EBITA? Earnings before interest, taxes, and appreciation.
Yep.
This is your pre-tax number. Remember, you're going to need to put 30% of this or something away somewhere so that Uncle Sam isn't chasing you around the country,
Yeah.
like Dave.
Like, good point, right? I mean, so if your net goal, and you might throw out $150,000, and this spreadsheet's going to make sense in a second because we gave you a copy of it. Once you fill out, did everybody put their email address down?
Everybody's but Dan's.
It's on.
It's on there? Okay.
Lorelai's going to share that file with you because this is a live working file that you can put on your desktop or on your computer and make changes to.
John makes a good point. That might be another layer that we might need to add on to this
Yep.
at some point because really, and Scott probably covered this with you, but it's a good idea to set up a separate bank account. So like Nancy Weber, every time she has a closing, she takes, I don't know if it's 20 or 30% and drops it into an
It's a
account.
savings, it's the IRS savings.
Yeah, it's your tax savings account basically, and then every quarter she just writes a check out of that account, and then she doesn't really have as much to worry about at the end of the year when she files her taxes. I mean, it might not be 100% correct, but it's going to be a lot better than not paying anything and then having a big surprise at the end of the year.
So if you were able to open this up on your screen right now, and let's just pick somebody here in the room, and I just threw some numbers out there, but is your goal for 2020 to have a net income, EBIT, right, of 150 or 100? Who wants to play? Denise?
I'll play.
Denise, what is your net goal? And I'm actually glad we're using Denise because the math was, I had trouble with the math the other day when he was doing this. So
Most single agents, there could be other, I mean, a lot of you might remember, if you were in that class the other day, they were going based on like 40% and 30%, which is the reason why we're doing this class, because those numbers really don't make sense for normal single agents.
Right.
Another thing that could be in there, though, quite honestly, is if you're using like a transaction coordinator or something that's more transaction driven, that could be another cost of sale.
Yeah.
Right, because that's like kind of hiring somebody.
Yeah, fixed costs. Well, wouldn't that be a business expense?
No, that would be operating expense unless
Operating expenses?
you were paying it before. Wouldn't everything on cost of sales be what you paid before Helen strikes you a check.
Yes.
That's the way I was kind of looking at it.
Well, that would probably come out of that.
That would all be cost of sales. Now, anything that comes out of your pocket after
Yeah,
Helen,
transaction coordinator, you could probably do it either way. You could
Yeah.
probably put it in operating expense or cost of sales. But
So let me just share something with you. Because we're following the model here, okay? But there's a,
definition. That'd be cool.
on page 157 of your MREA, there is actually, and Jim's gonna talk more about this, is actually a breakdown of what,
What page is that?
157 of your red book, of what standard operating, for most agents, operating expenses should be, okay? But we're gonna flip back for that for a second, but cost of sales, that's a fixed cost. We know that your cost of sales is 21,000, 18 and 3. It's not a fixed cost.
if you do enough business, it's a fixed cost.
If you do enough business, it's a fixed cost. Does everybody understand that? So let me swap over here for a second. Let me go to the P&L. This is where I think Jim can be of more help here because, not that he's not of any help, but cost of sales, you can see we put your cap in there of 18,000. Now, if you were at another market center and your cap was 21,000, you put that there. Royalty is $3,000. Seller agent costs, buyer agent costs. If you had a buyer agent, what did you pay them? What do you plan on paying them? Does that make sense? Now, your operating expenses, this is where, depending upon what size agent you are, this could vary. Michelle gave an example here where this adds up to how many dollars down below here? Yeah, total of 16.
So this is like, this is Michelle's chart of accounts, just like you were talking about earlier.
Right.
And if you go in the MREA book, at the back of the book, there's a chart of accounts that, is something that they put together for this book. And it's not a bad idea to maybe try to mimic that, because as your business grows, you'll get closer and closer to needing more of that chart of accounts. So most single agents don't need that many
Right.
expense categories.
And look at, she's got everything from her MLS fees. You guys know what your MLS fees are, right?
Yeah, more than that.
Okay, more than that. So on your spreadsheet, you would change that, right? She's got Lee County MLS fees, she's got her gas for her vehicle, she's got vehicle insurance, cell phone costs, education and training. I hope that she's spending more than $300 a year on education and training.
Yeah, because bold.
Bold is $800, right?
Yeah, but if you get reimbursed, you can't write that on.
You forget about reimbursement.
You don't even put it on there.
Okay,
Can't say that.
if you're confident you're gonna get reimbursed. If you're renting an office, right? Some of you are renting an office at $150, $200 a month. That number goes there, and it's all gonna calculate that number for you. See where we're going with this? Marketing, lead gen. She's committed to $400 a month in lead gen.
But it says 1,200 there.
Well, that's good.
$400 annual.
Annualized.
Yeah.
400 times 12 is not 1,200.
Yeah, so there's a mistake there.
The formula might be in there.
Formulation.
So she plans on spending $50 a month on postcards. That number's right, 600. Advertising, 100. 1,200. Origination fees, things like that. Other marketing. Something else that could be in there. What? Supplies. Supplies. If you buy supplies for your office, that could be a category. That could be another category.
One of my biggest categories is technology, so I put my
Technology.
my Supra key, my subscription to Microsoft 365,
Good point. So
my
Supra.
Norton
Well, they're called
antivirus.
subscriptions.
Subscriptions. Is that a chart of accounts?
Well,
Right?
yeah, again, you can do it any way you want to do
Yeah.
it.
Whatever you need to do to come up with a good, solid number. In her case,
Technology would be like buying a new computer for your office.
No, that would be
That's a
equipment.
capital expense.
That'd be
Yeah.
equipment.
it would be equipment. Now I think that's in the chart of accounts that Jim was talking about.
But again, it's all, like I said, what I have there is an example. Talk, if you have an accountant, talk to how they want it. The chart of accounts I gave you is the way my bookkeeper set it up.
Okay.
And,
But
no
for an
problem.
individual agent, if you're gonna go out and buy a computer, that's coming out of your pocket. So whether you wanna consider it a capital expense or a business, it's still coming out of your pocket. I would look at this more so as a cash flow
Mhm.
and not necessarily as a profit and loss kind of thing, because your accountant's gonna do something different than what you might do to keep track of your cash flow.
Yeah.
And don't take these numbers literally, as far, because this is just.
And you're going to be able to plug in
Nobody's
anything
going to
you
spend
want on the
$50 a month
spreadsheet.
on business cards.
Yeah, and probably copy a basic formula to make it work for you.
You know, one thing that's not on here that, you know, I don't know if you guys buy your customers closing gifts.
Closing gifts.
Something that you might-
Absolutely.
Right? Think about that. So let's pretend so this makes sense, right? So tell me if I'm wrong from an accountant standpoint.
Well, if you're using an accountant, you're gonna have your accountant's fees, right, your tax prep fees.
Tax prep fees.
Okay.
And so if this was complete, if this was Denise's completed profit and loss statement, these are $16,000 worth of deductions, right?
Yep, sure.
Right? Just like that 21,000 up there is a deduction, right?
Yep.
Cost of sale. So, as you can see, Denise's net income goal was 125, remember? Remember? Now, if we go back to the front page on this spreadsheet, from the P&L section of the spreadsheet, cost of sales is 21. That's going to be the same for everybody in this room. Okay?
That's what you pay into the market center.
Yep, unless you're on a team, then there's a different cap.
Or unless you're doing less than $2 million.
Or less than you're doing less than $2 million. We should talk about that another time, right? Let's pretend Denise's operating expenses are $16,000 or 10% of her income. So her total GCI, gross commission income, she actually has to collect $162,000 in gross commission. Does that make sense? Right? I threw in here, let's talk to Denise again. What's your average commission? I put 2.75%.
It's usually free.
3? Let's change it to 3. Denise is good. She fights hard and gets her 3%. Right, Denise?
Unless I get both sides, then I'll do it for 5. And I've gotten both sides several times. That's all my own stuff.
Yeah, so then,
Best way to go.
300.
then your 3% comes down to 2.75. I mean, the average commission in our office is probably about that 2.75.
Right, but on one, I'm getting 5 instead of 3. Because I'm getting both sides.
Yeah, but you're,
So
Well,
when you.
yeah, I know what you mean, right.
Yeah, and the numbers are split into 2.5 and 2.5.
Yeah.
yeah, so, I mean, there's always gonna be
I wish
instances
I
where
did
things come
300%,
up that
that'd be great.
you're either gonna be selling a house from
You
an
know who's doing
agent that's.
2.5
Who?
or 2, just like JH?
Yeah, we can say his name.
Oh, he is? Yeah.
He's in a lot of his listings.
Yeah, there's a lot, that's why 3%'s a pretty
So not
tough barrier to reach.
this is the importance of this. I don't know if you noticed, but when I changed that from 2.75 to 3% on an average sale price of 210, and we'll talk about that in a second, it was 32 transactions she needed to do to accomplish this goal. Now, if she collects 3%, it's 26. So protect your commission is another conversation, right? Just change it by 0.25%. She has to go out and do 6 more. If I do the math right, that's 6 more transactions to meet her goal. Okay, so Denise, would you say the average sale price? What's your average sale price? I put 210.
Now it's more than that usually. 230 a minimum maybe.
Okay, let's put 230. Watch how this changes. Now she only has to do 23 transactions if she follows this model.
And that's something you can kind of control to some degree, depending upon where you're lead generating, where you're going out and getting your business.
Well, and not only that, not all 26 or whatever are 230. You might have a 500 or
Well,
you know what I
sure.
mean, so it's even less. than
Right,
that.
but your average, you can control that to some degree if you, like, some other agents have a tendency to go after like mobile home listings that are probably selling for less than $100,000.
Yeah.
Why are you doing that to yourself when you can be only getting $150,000 listing?
Yeah.
Or $200,000 listing? So,
Yeah.
when you pick an area to work in, that's something you want to take into consideration.
Yeah. So let's go back. I mean, this was her 2020 net income goal. Granted, she's going to have to pay taxes on that, right? Cost of sales are fixed for Denise. Operating expenses, that will fluctuate. If she goes back to that P&L and fills that out, it could be 16, it could be 13,000, it could be 25,000, depending upon what she wants to throw in her business next year, which will affect that number. This will help you meet that goal if you maintain that. You saw what a 0.25% can do to you. Can I just comment, let me comment on that, because a 1/4% changed her goal by 6 transactions. We're throwing out 1%ers. Oh yeah, I'll reduce it by 1%. Imagine what that does. Imagine what that does.
But that's why you need to know your numbers, because
No, you're not.
get on your, but you need to know your numbers.
I know I do.
You
That's why I'm here. I'm
So,
real organized right now.
so,
So we can get you a trends report for your business and be able to narrow down those numbers better.
so 125,000 fixed costs, guest owner operating costs. She's going to protect her commission. Average sale price is 230. Average commission is 6,900.
I'm really gonna protect my.
That's 23 transactions. Siva,
We will be able to download that model.
this model is
So we
being
can plug
emailed
in.
to you
Yeah,
as we speak.
awesome.
The spreadsheet.
And I
Go ahead,
want
Dan.
the.
Keeping in mind that those mobile homes or those modular home sellers,
Yep.
if you take their sale for their listing, they generally are gonna buy something a little bit more expensive, so.
True.
Building a market base.
Yeah, I'm not saying you should turn business down, but if you want to have more control on your
But
business.
yeah, that's not a place to build a
Keep the
farm.
focus.
Farming, yeah.
Well, you could, it's just a matter of you're going to have to sell a lot more units.
And I found out that the smaller deals, like the less than 150, require more work than the 250 now.
Yeah, they usually have more
And,
They
issues,
do.
right?
And yeah, they will be like, so frugal about the number and they want everything and they purchasing $120,000.
Yeah, most of the calls I get are from agents who are having trouble with deals. It's not higher priced deals.
Yeah.
Because the buyers usually don't have as much cash to work with to
Mhm.
take care of the issues that might come up on an inspection.
Yeah.
Or the sellers a lot of times either. So then you're all trying to like
Yeah.
keep the same money in your hands,
Fighting
and
for the
it
same
doesn't always work out that way. So then the agents, a lot of times will contribute, which
That's-
takes that 3%
Mhm.
down to something less, 3%.
And let me use myself as a bad example. If you look at the spreadsheet that I gave you, you see I have a lead generation basically under column E. If you
Where
look
is that?
under, I left a copy of that up there. An extra copy. On the last page, you see I paid $8,400.78 in 2018 lead gen. Okay. I will never do that again. That was Zillow, $6,000. This will give you a big incentive. If you're recording this and looking at this, when Zillow calls you up and says, it's only $1,000 a month, come on, you'll be one sale and you'll make it up. You look at your expense sheet and go, holy, that took $8,400 out of my pocket last year and I got buck this from it.
So that's
Let's
something.
not, we had one closing from Zillow. It was a lot for $5,900.
So you lost out of the
That's a-
400.
Fuck
That's,
yeah.
that's a trap that a lot of agents find themselves caught in.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll try this, I'll try, God, that HUD stuff, they only charge like $150 a month or something. Heck, one deal out of that, and, I'll pay for the whole year.
So,
And then the next thing you know, 2 years later, you're still paying that $150 because it's coming out of your account automatically, and you're not even following up on the leads because you found out those leads are not very good leads, and they're all looking for the
Leads
cheapest
is a
thing in
strong
town.
word.
Yeah.
oh, John, I didn't see it. Thank you, John, for sharing this. This might be your chart of accounts. Like when you come back to this P&L to play around with this thing, and you want to put some others in, use John's examples, maybe not his dollar amounts.
No, obviously you're gonna have your own dollar amount.
I agree with
I hope
John,
not.
for another reason with Zillow too, if you were spending how much?
It was $1,000 a month for 6 months.
Yeah, that's in Zillow world, not that, that's
It's cheap.
peanuts.
Yeah.
It's cheap.
So you're not competing with the Robbie Seifert and the big agents that are spending thousands and thousands, 5, 6. I've heard one agent was paying $15,000 a month.
Well, that's how we kind of got caught in it. Was they were like, oh yeah, it works great for us. We're getting a lot, and then it turned out she was paying like $15,000
Yeah,
a
I think
month
she's
in
out of
leads.
business now.
A
And,
month?
Yeah,
and I was,
she's like, I'm getting tons of leads. It's
well, I
like,
bought
oh,
40%
great.
I bought 40% of a pretty good zip
You
code,
should
so it should
$15,000 a
have been
month.
a good lead generator.
You get a
Person
percentage
garbage.
of a neighborhood.
And if we're talking about the same person, she wasn't even working the leads herself. She was handing them off to somebody else and giving 50% of that away. Tried to tell her that's not really a good foundation
Business
for a
model.
business plan, and
There's
Well,
an old story about the two guys that go into the watermelon business. They buy a truck and they buy watermelons for $1, and then they sell the watermelons for $1. And at the end of the day, one guy says to the other, I don't understand, we didn't make any money. The other guy says, you idiot, I told you we needed a bigger truck.
Right, so the bigger truck's not always there, man.
And we'll sell them for 50 cents each.
So I just made a quick change. You notice on lead gen, the formula wasn't right. 400 times 12 months is actually $4,800, which changed her expenses to 19,600. If you go back to the economic model, you'll notice that it changed Denise's requirement of going of 162,000 to 165,000. So it's going to work. So sheet as an Excel spreadsheet should talk to each other.
And that's something that came up in the class too with Bill, that, your mind would say, let's keep our expenses as low as we can. So do we really need to spend that $400 a month on lead gen? Well, sometimes you got to spend some money to make money, So the lead gen might be, if you're into open houses, it might be sending the postcards around the neighborhood, making your flyers and do your open houses, right?
Yeah.
Find
So
out
when
the
you're,
stuff.
when you're looking at your
Big expense of
P&L, when you're looking at your expense sheet, you're right. I mean, it's a red light, green light thing, right? And they talk about that in the red book, the red light, green light theory.
So you have to hold your expenses accountable, right?
Yeah.
So if,
Yeah, you get postcards there for $600, okay?
Yeah.
And let's say that, I got, 4 good leads and 4 good sellers out of postcards this year. I spent $600. That's $150 a lead. But I spent $4,800 in lead gen with Zillow, and I got 6 leads. Well, obviously, the Zillow's costing you a hell of a lot more than the postcards are.
Mm-hmm.
Put more money in postcards and take the money out of the lead gen column.
right.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's why you need to revisit this
Doesn't
probably at
Zillow
least monthly.
sell all your stuff?
Yeah.
Or
Well,
what's
Zillow is not your friend. So they have access, if they're giving you a lead, they have access to that person's information, and chances are you're not the only one getting the lead,
Right.
That's the
right?
thing.
So they're
So
gonna,
why spend money? Don't give money to Zillow. That is the bottom line.
right?
Well,
Most of these lead generation
that's the takeaway.
sources, that if you really look at it, you gotta be doing it at a really high level, and it's gonna cost you, it's still gonna cost you a lot of money.
One other quick point, and I won't belabor it, but that is, if you're in doubt as to where to spend your red light, green light money, you're going to get, as you're in this business, everybody's got your name and they know you're in real estate. You're getting a million texts, emails, etc., all day about a great new lead source and this is the best thing since sliced bread. Ignore it. The culture in Keller Williams is everybody helps each other out. Ask the other people in the office, what's working for you? Hey, are postcards working for you? Hey, is Trulia
Well, what
working for you?
postcards are working?
What's working for you best in this situation? The people in here, especially the successful ones, and Jim and David are the best source, not the shiny new thing that's in your email. Because hey, we just came up with this great thing. And obviously they want your money.
I know that now, but I also spent $33,000 a year on a TV commercial back when I was in production. You want to talk about the return on investment in that? I'm going to show this TV
$15,000 a
commercial.
lead.
You told us about how the
meeting was
IRS
fun.
was after you,
Yeah,
so it
you're
wasn't
gonna-
very.
What a waste of money.
Well, we did a radio show at the office, we were doing a
Did you
radio
get any
show.
business from it?
I don't know that I got any business, but it made me very popular in the small town of Westminster, Massachusetts.
And that's what you want.
I was known as the Red Sox guy because my commercial came out between the 6th and 7th inning of every Red Sox game on Nestor.
So if you're gonna do that, or you're gonna do a radio show or something like that, that needs to be like in combination with other stuff. That in and of itself, I don't think is gonna generate a lot of leads to you, but it could supplement it, but then you're talking about spending a ton of money.
Yeah.
We did that radio show for like 2 years, I think, and I think it was costing us at least $1,000 a month. And I don't know that anybody got any business out of it. So we stopped doing it. That's why we stopped doing it. But we should have stopped it a lot sooner than we did.
So does everybody understand, I just want to be clear on something, everybody understand the difference between cost of sale versus operating expense? Okay, we clear on that?
We're clear.
Okay. what's the term he uses? That's the explanation. This is as a result of doing a transaction. This is money you pay out as a result of doing a transaction.
Which is why I think if we use a closing coordinator, that would be.
Yeah, that probably should be there too. 'Cause
I agree. I know, and Jim being an accountant is probably correct on that.
Yeah, these are more like, I guess, a lot of these can be variable costs, but that's variable,
Yeah.
truly variable based on what business you're doing. So if you're not doing the business, you're not gonna incur that cost. These are costs you're gonna incur whether you're doing business or not, kind of.
Yeah.
I mean,
That
not
makes sense.
100%, because they're not truly fixed, because you do have discretion on
Yeah.
what you spend.
You're still,
but-
if you're spending $100 a month on advertising, that doesn't mean you're gonna get a sale out of it. So it's an operating expense, not a cost of sale.
Yeah.
So, does that make sense, right? I want to point something out about the red book on page 157. Denise's goal isn't far off from one of Gary's models in here, even though this is the millionaire real estate agent. But I'm just going to give you an example of what Gary's perception is when he sat down with top producing agents. Here's an agent, $180,000 in GCI with a gross profit of 160, not too far off from 125, right? But they predicted that the average agent will spend 33% on operating expenses. You can see here, Michelle kept that down to 12%. Okay? So the goal, what am I saying? The goal is to keep your operating expenses under 30%.
But 20,000 of that is a salary,
20,000 of that is a
or
salary.
like an admin, like a
She has an assistant.
employee almost.
Well, I think that's part of it. Once, again, you have to spend a little money to make money. So I think when you're starting out, you're probably going to be closer to 12, 15%. But as you go up, obviously, you're going to need the people underneath you, and it is going to go up.
Yeah,
But
our own little Sarah
look at
DeRoche
all-
is a great example. She just hired and is looking for an executive assistant, right? She's gonna put that salary, whatever that is, $30,000. That's gonna change that operating.
Did she already get rid of the one she just hired?
Yeah, she left.
So, yeah, so
Oh.
she hired fast and thankfully.
But as
Quite
that agent, as that agent at 12% just starting out increases business, be paying transaction coordinator more, their business is increasing, so that 12% may not change.
Yeah.
Just
It'll-
by
it'll-
increased income.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, it may not change, but,
Yeah.
So,
Increase your-
like in this case, they have a full-time, 20,000, I don't know what market that is, that could be a full-time assistant, probably around here,
We can,
maybe, I don't know. but-
part-time.
You don't have to go out and hire a full-time assistant right away either, that's why I think, honestly, to get started,
This might be a virtual assistant.
it could be virtual, but just using the transaction coordinators.
Just
they-
using like Jennifer or somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you have questions about that, we have information, my admin.
She's
But
still doing
that would, to me, that would be the way to get started, get some leverage in your business instead of hiring somebody right away.
So that helps. Now that gets us back. I'm going to go back to the economic model. This is simple math right here. This was the easy part of the math class in the course, and you can see how this works. And anything you change on that P&L is going to affect the number of units that you have to do. If you change that, it's going to affect the unit, like we saw, go from 2.75% to 3%. I know I'm repeating myself, but it changed by 6 transactions. Now, let's go over here if we may. Okay?
Yeah, just for a second, but you still need to be tracking this stuff, like as the year progresses, to see if you're on track with if you're not at 3%, that's
Oh,
going
yeah.
to change
To
the
put
stuff.
your number in.
If your average price isn't that, it's going to change that.
Well, and you, anybody that's come to us new have heard me say, talking about the capping model, I say if you follow the model, you will cap out at $2 million in sales. Why do I say that? Because it's happened to me before where I said I didn't say if you follow the model. They said, wait, I just eclipsed $2 million in sales and I didn't cap. Well, that's because you weren't following the 3% model. That's a 3% model to cap out.
That's a hard thing to guarantee, because you are selling the discount.
Well, and if you're getting the other side of somebody that's listing it for 2.5%, you don't have to
Right,
raise.
yeah, if you're
Right, so
doing deals
different
like that,
things
you gotta
affect that
pay,
number.
you gotta pay attention to it, that's my point.
Right. So, over here is where, and I don't know if you can see this clearly, but that's why you have it in your, you have a printout here, but this is, I'm gonna try and blow this up.
So this is kind of the economic and budget model. This is getting more into like the economic and lead generation model. So all,
That's good.
all
We can
four of
see it
these
there.
models that are in this book, if you haven't read this book, it's a little, I'd say it's a little dry getting started. So if you're not going to sit down and read the whole thing at one sitting, focus on pages 128 to 171, because that's where the models go into
Say those
depth.
numbers again?
Page 128 through 171 goes through the economic model, the lead gen model, the budget model, and the organization model. And I would say the organization model is probably the last one to
Yep.
focus on, because that's kind of where Sarah is right now. She
T-bill.
needs to start focusing on that.
Now, remember that we talked about this with Bill Kennedy, and this is where everybody's page, there was scratching out numbers and doing division and multiplication and all that stuff.
Just as a
But in this model, Denise has to sell 24 units to make her goal, $125,000 net. She's gonna decide, well, we're gonna ask Denise right now, Denise, of those units, how many of those units do you wanna be listing, buyer sides or listing sides?
Well, ideally, I'd love it to be all listing signs.
Right? But thank you for that
But it
answer.
doesn't work that way.
Okay,
I mean, the goal should be, you should at least try to be balanced.
50-50.
And really, if you're doing your listings, if you generate your listings, you're probably going to get buyer leads too.
Yeah.
Whereas the buyer leads don't normally
And
as
it's more
likely
work.
generate a listing lead.
Like if listings are king, right? And there are some people that say, I'm just never gonna work with buyers. They might put 70% over here, 75% and 25% buyers. They're just.
But I was
Right,
talking to an
18.
agent last week that said, I don't really like taking listings, they're too much trouble. I'd rather just work with buyers. Well, that's a choice you can make, but
Yeah.
that's a painful,
Not a good one.
it's a painful one.
No,
Because
if
these
you-
buyers will suck the lifeblood out of you, right?
And so if you're a buyer agent sitting in this room, which none of you are just specifically a buyer's agent, well, it's obvious.
You're gonna be all over that.
Yeah,
Mine
you'd be
would be
100%,
18
yeah.
and 18 and.
Well, I sat down with Savannah yesterday, for example, doing her 2020, working on her 2020 business plan. And she right now, she's gonna finish out 2019 at about 60% buyers, 40% listings. She says, I'm swapping that next year. I'm gonna be 60% listings and 40% buyers. And that's something to be aware of. She was actually, she didn't even know that she was 60/40.
I would have
Well,
thought
most
she
agents
wasn't,
don't.
because I always thought she got more listings than anything.
You don't advertise buyers the same as you do.
I would say,
Well,
that-
true, but
as
I
an-
just,
using Gianna and I as an example, I mean, we've largely focused entirely on getting listings.
Yeah.
But what's our split? Almost 50-50, right down the
That's
middle, because the
a
buyers
lot of
come.
buyers.
Yeah.
That's how I got my buyer from my listing. and-
That's because we host a
You know,
big
when
part,
we're doing an
like
open
part of our
house,
business
sometimes
comes from open
buyers come.
houses, so we get a lot of
Sometimes
buyers
the
from
listing is
those.
buying something else,
Mhm.
whatever it is, you end up with.
That's why
I think because you get buying leads, buyer
Yeah.
leads from the listings,
Mhm.
that's what help evens it out.
What
And I would-
Savannah's gonna have to do, and you might have already had this conversation with her, is how's she gonna make that shift?
Actually, where were you? I haven't had that conversation with her.
You know, so she needs to have a strategy, so she needs to build like a 1-3-5 with a strategy to move some of her business from that buyer side over to the seller side.
So when we were taking the class with Bill Kennedy, what he said that struck me was that if you handle 3 listings versus handling 3 buyers, how you manage your time, that's very important, because when you have to show 3 buyers, you're all over. But if you have 3 listings, it's nothing. I can handle up to 5 listings by myself.
So is it safe to
No
say
problem.
listings take less time?
less time, get it on the market.
Once
Once you get
listed,
it on
once
the
listed.
market, you
Once
have
listed.
someone
They work.
else bring you buyers, see?
You got
You can
thousands
just,
of agents working for you.
yes.
If,
Versus,
So-
versus you and one buyer.
if you're setting the expectations with your seller,
Yeah.
and you're taking good price, well-priced listings.
Yeah.
And you're not getting drawn into just trying to buy a listing by taking an overpriced listing,
Mhm.
and it turns out to be a difficult seller, then they can be a handful, right?
Wasting
So-
time.
So managing your time.
There's no sugar in it.
Yeah, there's-
So John and Gianna, right now, they just admitted they're 50/50. Denise, can we play along and say you're 50/50, or your goal is to be 50/50? in 20?
To be
My
like,
goal is to not be 50/50.
Okay, well, let's change
should
it.
be like 75 or 25.
Yeah, I would do
Let's
like
change it.
18 and 6.
Well, let's play along, just to show you that this thing works. So she wants to be 75% listings. She wants to be 25% buyer sides,
So there goes the listing sold. It changes the absolute number.
okay? So where are we now? 24, 7, so she needs 18 listing sides to 6. However, we don't get every listing, we don't sell every listing we take, and we don't close every buyer that we go on. That's where these conversion ratios come in. This is where the confusion really came, but the spreadsheet's gonna take care of it, right? So, I have here, let's ask Denise, if you took 18 listing contracts, what percentage are you gonna close?
60.
Wait. But-
Good.
but This wouldn't be how many you're gonna close.
55.
This will be,
How many?
No, 60.
this will be how, if you go on,
I don't think I've ever had one not.
if you went on 100 listing appointments, how many of those would you get the listing?
No, that's
No,
a point
no,
of
no.
conversion rate. That's
Whoa,
a
whoa, 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 wait.
This is
Yeah.
saying she needs to close 18 listing sides. So how many listings?
Oh,
does
okay,
she
you're
need
right.
to
Yeah,
take?
okay, we didn't get to the conversion rate.
Yeah.
You're right.
How many listings do you need to take if you're only closing 60% of them? You need to take 30.
Yeah, and if you're only closing, so every one of these,
Oh, that conversion
every one of
ratio.
these conversion steps, that's what we call these conversion.
Increases the number.
Well, it tells you something too. Like if you're only closing 60% of your listings, there's the problem. I think.
No, I don't think, I've only had one listing since I've been in real estate that didn't close, and that's because
Right.
it was overpriced and they refused to drop it and it just ran out.
So perfect example. So
Expired.
if you're only closing, that means 44 out of every 10 listings you're taking is not selling. That
You need some training.
you need to look at how you're taking your listings. You probably are taking overpriced listings. You're probably taking people with unrealistic expectations. You're probably taking properties
And I
that
say all that at the listing appointment.
Yeah.
So
hiring
let
me
me,
to sell your house.
let me point to another page in the MREA, page 181, okay? Gary Keller's model in 181 would show that this agent converts 65% of his listings taken into sales. So, but Denise, you convert 80%. Let's change that. This is good. Watch what this does. Denise is better than that. She closes 80% of her listings. Change that number to 23 listings needed,
So that's 2 listings a month.
right?
Yep.
Now let's stay on this side. Now there's another conversion ratio here that they put into the budget model, the lead gen model, right? This is probably pretty low. How many appointments does Denise have to go on
So where I was.
to get 23 listings? What's her conversion ratio?
45. Right?
Well, how many? If you go on, well, if you went on 45 appointments, how many listings do you think you get? How many appointments do you go on and walk away with a listing?
Which
I
conversion?
think every time I've gone on a listing appointment, other than one, because the guy decided not to list because he was unrealistic about
Do
what
you
he
understand the
said.
question?
Yeah.
If I go on 10 listing appointments, how many of them am I going to get?
10.
You're
Maybe
100%.
9.
Call it 90%.
Wow.
Watch this.
But I've always, unless, they're just unrealistic about the number,
So this is
then I
good.
have them sign something saying,
Yeah,
okay, in
that's
30
good.
days,
So think
you
about
reduce
this.
the price.
Well, it depends where your business is coming
Right.
from. It's going to dictate a lot of that.
So Denise's conversion ratio on appointments is 90. She gets 9 out of 10. So she only has to go on 25 appointments to get 23 listings
Yes.
to close 18 transactions. Those are pretty good conversion ratios. So you notice, I'm just going to go back here and let's say your conversion ratio at a point, your listing presentation is horrible. Your skills, role playing, script practice, you got to sharpen your skills. This agent has to go on 90 appointments versus an experienced agent who only has to go on 25
Yeah.
appointments.
And if that's happening, if that's what you're doing, then we need to talk about what your presentation looks like.
Yeah.
Right?
So the beauty of this is not only to find out how many appointments you need to go on, But it
Finds out where
finds
they're at.
out where your problems are as you go on through the years, you plug in the
Yeah,
numbers.
each one of these things tells its
So you can go,
story, right?
instead of
Yeah.
just going, I don't know why I'm not making any money, you're going, oh, here it is, here's the problem, it's right
So if
in
you
the
go back to
appointment conversion
Denise
rate.
and throw 90% back in there, take this just a step further. She only needs to go on 25 appointments a year to get this. Are you going on 25 appointments a year? And if you're not, then it's probably your lead gen, that you're not in your lead gen.
So let's think about this for a
You're
second.
on to me, Jim.
Let's say Denise is a listing agent only. 25 appointments a year. How many appointments a week is that?
2.5.
No,
Half.
Oh, me?
a half
A
an
week.
appointment.
Okay, that's only 2.
That's only
One
half.
Half.
That's a half an appointment. One of
She
these
needs,
weeks.
has to meet with half a person. She needs to meet with somebody as tall as
That's
Sarah
her
Veronica.
problem. That's her problem. She needs to with half a person.
Who's the other half?
Yeah.
Who's the other half?
It's gotta
Yeah,
be
we
a
gotta
twin
bring
home.
them together.
What's that?
It's gotta be a twin home,
Yeah.
not a single family.
So
And we're not picking on you.
what is,
No, I know.
But that's,
this is the reality of it.
Well, that's, I like the breakdown. I'm gonna get busy.
Well, and the beauty of it is that you start to realize, well, that shouldn't be that hard. If I
Right.
look at it and go, okay, I'm not making 2 appointments in a month, what do I need to, what do I need to get on? You know what this is? This is the cheapest coach you'll ever hire.
Yeah.
The spreadsheet is the cheapest coach you'll ever hire.
Yeah, yeah.
So the thing about this is, if you start doing this side's gonna grow,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You're gonna get buyer leads.
Yeah.
And you're probably not gonna be at 75-25 because you're doing even more business than
Yeah.
what
Mhm.
Exactly.
That's
you
why
were
we're
planning,
listening.
basing your plan on.
Now, these are great conversion rates.
Mm.
Let's be honest. I sat with some, I'm gonna use her as an example. Samantha, if you're listening, I apologize. We looked at our multi-year trends report, and if none of you know how to get that, we'll teach you how to do that. But we looked at our listings, contracts written versus listings closed to figure out her ratio. She was appalled to know that she was only at 80% conversion rate. So what did she say?
Of listings taken to sales.
Yeah. So
It's not that bad.
80%.
Appalled.
She was appalled at herself. She says, David, that was one of the questions she had, and that's a good question for a coach is, how do I get this to, what steps do I need to take to get this to 90% conversion ratio? Do I have to get a better listing presentation? We talked about that earlier. Do I have to work on my scripts and role play? Do I have to be more selective on the
All
appointments
of
that I
the
go on?
above.
Do I have to be more selective of the appointments I go on?
No, and that's true too. Almost everybody.
But she,
All the above.
she already had the listings, she just couldn't convert
To
that
close
last
it,
one.
Yeah.
Okay.
right?
So she might need to be harder on what price she's willing to take her listings at. Maybe she needs to look at how she's marketing her listings, you know? Maybe she needs to look at the area that she's taking the listings in to see if maybe some areas aren't producing the results as good as a different area.
There's
Focus her energy more on the other
Or,
area.
or look at those individual listings that didn't close and go, okay, what do I feel the reason why this
Yeah.
got withdrawn or expired or whatever?
let's be
I
honest
know right
here.
off the bat, I've taken too many.
There are some
Right,
agents,
listening
and
to
I think I
price
met one
change.
last week, John, that could care less if they sell them. They just want inventory. He has a 30% conversion rate. He probably only converts 40. He gets to go on 150 appointments to meet the same goal that Denise does. He just wants inventory. Is inventory a big deal? Not if it's not going to sell.
No.
You talking about Thomas?
Uh-oh, somebody knows.
So let's go back and put these real numbers in. 80,
They're on to me.
90. So congratulations, you only have to meet with a half a person every week to achieve your listing goal. Now on the other side, the buyer side, let's talk about that. She wants to concentrate
Maybe
25%
I should raise my hand.
25% of her business to buyers, so she only needs 6 of buyer sales a year. What would you say when you get a buyer in your car? How often? If you get 10 buyers in your car, how many of those are you closing?
10?
You're closing 100% of them? Well,
Well, usually, I mean,
okay.
I've
Oh,
never
oh,
shown a
oh,
bunch of people property.
All
I'm
right.
not good.
You sit down with 10. You're having 10 buyer consultations. for the
You never had
first
them
time.
go to an open
Open
house and buy
house.
a property there
Oh,
instead and blow you off?
After you
Because
spend-
we just
Also-
did.
Has happened
What's
to
that?
This
You never
also
had a
talks
buyer
about,
who you drove around all day and the next day
Oh.
they bought it at an open house and cut you out?
yeah, we're talking about like
Yeah,
deals
and I
that
need
fall, you
get
gotta take into
onto-
consideration deals that fall apart for goofy reasons.
Well, and
Yeah.
how the sellers, or not the sellers, the thing we get the buyers to sign, which I don't do like I should, how, does that really hold
Has no legal
value?
No.
So you get followed around?
It's like a-
that's a whole other class.
It's like,
Yeah.
But let's talk about how, are you closing every buyer?
We
Nothing
actually-
happens to the deal. Nothing
There's a
ever
video
happens to the
about that.
transaction.
Yeah, like,
Okay, 9 times out of 10, I would
Okay.
say yes.
90%.
I mean, but like you said, I'm, probably in the years that I've been doing it, there's probably been 1 or 2 that have,
Appointment conversion rate. You have in your first consultation with a buyer, how many actually turn into a buyer agreement? Or, not, never mind that buyer agreement, a buyer that you're.
How many do you
trust
end
is
up
going to
driving
work with
around? Yeah.
What's your conversion ratio there?
I'd say 90% of the time, 85.
Oh, you're good.
No iguana
Even
salesman.
people
Well,
that-
I become friends with them, then they wanna hang out all the time, and then I don't have time. It's like,
I find that
So-
I run
so
into people that,
Denise,
Yeah,
let's be honest with this. For you to net $125,000, you only need to go on 2 listing appointments per month and 1 buyer appointment per month. 3 appointments a month.
Oh my, that's doable.
What are you doing with all your extra time?
don't ask,
Isn't this eye-opening though?
taking care of family members.
yeah.
Imagine,
but that's why you need to keep track of your numbers throughout the year and not just do this at the
Right.
beginning of the year and then let it put in that desk, because things happen, life happens, right?
Right,
So if things come up, maybe get you off track, and to get back on track, then you gotta know where you are, and then these numbers for the
Let me-
remainder of the year are gonna be higher than what you might have started out the year at.
for the sake of conversation, I'm just gonna go back and change Denise's numbers to reality and put 65.
And it's live.
I love you, Denise, I love you.
Yeah, we are live, guys.
Conversion ratios out of the MREA is, let's say you follow the MREA model, and your conversion ratios are slightly less than Denise's. Well, you're still only at 4.
That's still at 50/50 or 75/25 like you
That's
got?
at 75/25. I mean,
so
Yeah,
realistically, I would rather set my goal to
So
do 4
what's
a month,
stopping us?
cause then.
For listings or
4 appointments a month.
for total?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And two-
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
When you break it down, that's,
so doable.
If you look at it, even under Denise's model or this model,
Yeah.
you look at once you break it down, you look at, okay, I've only got to go 2 listing appointments, 2 buyer appointments per month, and I'm making 125,000.
Yep.
What if I went on 4 and 4?
Right,
What if I doubled that? What would my income do? I would double my income. I mean, based on those numbers.
You're more than double.
Why
your income,
wouldn't
because
you?
your cost of sales would go down.
Yeah.
let me go over to the P&L here for a second.
And Bill Kennedy said, instead of base it off 12 months, do it 10 months or 11 months.
yeah.
Yeah.
A month off.
Yeah,
I used to
take a
take-
month
I
off,
used to take December
and
off.
that will cut
Every
down
year.
on the monthly cost
I don't
too.
know if everybody heard that, but like Steve said, Bill Kennedy said
Yeah.
he does
I
his
saw
plan
that.
based on 10 months, because he knows he's gonna take at least a month off per year on vacation, and then
Yeah.
he doesn't wanna be stressing out through the end of the year, so he wants to
Vacation.
I've had,
for the holidays.
I've probably had almost every sales job available in Southwest Florida. And every place I've worked, they're like, yeah, take all the vacation you want, but your quota is the same at the end of the year.
Yeah.
So the beauty here is you have the ability to adjust it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the beauty and the curse of real estate, right? You have all the flexibility in the world.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the thing.
So, you can take as much time off as you want.
And the only way to get to these numbers, though, is to remind yourself, and I'm terrible at this. Like I say, all you need is 2 appointments a month, or if you did 1 a week, you'd be double that. But do we wake up every morning and go, do I have my appointment yet?
Right.
And here's
No.
Well, I think that's
So all of a sudden
the-
it's Friday and you go, shit, I didn't get any appointments this month.
make
You know?
a transaction, start a transaction. Those go against you. If you start one just to put something in there to get things organized and nothing comes about it,
So it goes in your numbers.
So you should never start anything till you know it's there.
Well, we'll get your multi-year trends report. And
Yeah.
take a look at that, but,
That's
so,
gonna show.
you know, so you were just talking about, the thing that I think is missing in the spreadsheet, nothing against you, Michelle, you did a great job, but I think it doesn't take it to that next step to the lead generation
Yeah.
part, right? So,
Well, it does. Want to talk about that?
oh, does it? Okay,
There it
cool.
is.
Oh, yeah, lead gen.
Just think about it, if you just miss one day.
Apologize.
So we made it here, right? So we knew our net goal, we filled out our expenses and cost of sales, we know our GCI, we know how many units she needs to do, right? Let's talk about, and we know how many appointments she needs to go on, not a lot, okay? So how many,
Now,
so let's talk about the database of Met contacts, okay? And I'm only gonna be specific about Met contacts because it gets a little complicated. But I just wanted to share something too. I just threw in on Denise's, let's say she says, you know what, I'm not gonna follow the MREA, I'm gonna go get a buyer's agent, and that buyer's agent's gonna earn $40,000 a year. Well, it changed her cost of sales and her expenses and changed her economic model. She went up from, how many units, where do you have to do, 24? Now you have to do 30. Okay, but it's still only 5 appointments a month.
Doesn't sound so bad, does it?
Wow, that's 40,000.
Leverage.
So your GCI went up by, you know, more than that, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yep, your GCI went up by 40 grand, but you only had to go on one or 2 more appointments a month.
actually,
Not even that many. It was that many. So let's talk about database Met contacts. Does everybody know what a Met is? Okay, if you read the red book, and Michelle and I are going to work on this, okay, but because there's another model of not Mets. Okay. Michelle Tomeo?
so,
She's the one who did the
so
spreadsheet for us.
can you go back to
That's not a model?
just a second? So I guess what I meant to say was, you could put another layer or two in here and turn your appointments
Conversion.
into your lead, yeah,
Right, your conversion of
convert
lead gen.
your lead gen. Yeah.
Yep. So let's talk about your database, okay? In the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, the model on page 187 is about to change.
Can I just briefly interject that I think now in command, these are called
Contacts.
contacts.
connected as opposed to
Yeah,
That's,
so
Met.
we used to use these terms for years called Mets and have not Mets. And in command, I think they're called
captured and connected.
connected and leads.
Well, there's captured and connected, and then there's leads also.
There's
That's
3 categories.
There is.
There's so
Okay.
there's confusion around that.
Regardless of that, what is a Met? What is a Met? Somebody that
You've had it.
that's in your database, that you communicate with.
So you have the right to have a real estate conversation with.
You've earned the right, the privilege to have continuous real estate conversations with them. They are the heart of your business. They are the people that are going to give you, the ratio used to be 12 to 2 on your Mets. For every 12 people in your Mets, you would get 2 transactions. And the reason they said 12 to 2 back in the, and I'm going somewhere with this, is because for every 12 people, you should expect to get 1 transaction and 1 referral. Well, because of the tech disruption, the new MREA book that's coming out, hopefully by Family Reunion, has changed that model from 12 to 2 to 10 to 1. It's 10 to 1. Yep. So, that's my coaching call.
is it really?
Yeah. What do we do?
Take it off to him and see what he wants you to do.
Hey, Russ.
But just getting back to this, so like David's saying, for every 100 people in your database now, they're saying you should be able to expect 10 contracts per year. And that could be, listings you take, could be a buyer referral. It could be, well, it's either a seller or a buyer, right? So That's what, you want to focus your business more on that than you want to on working with strangers, just because if somebody knows you, likes you, and trusts you, you know, the lead you get from those people is probably going to be better than anything else you can do. So this is saying to us, if she wants to close 30 transactions in a year, then she probably needs to have 298 or 300 people in her database, right? To get the number of transactions that she wants to do. So when I talk to new agents and they're just starting out, to me, I think if every new agent focused on getting just 5 people in their database every 5 days a week, that's 25 a week. That's in 3 months, you have 300 in your database. Some people come with more than that into the business from the beginning because they've got a sphere of influence from a prior job or some activities they belong to or whatever. So don't discount any of that. We get a lot of people that come here and say, I don't know anybody around here. I just, you know, go through. If you're brand new to the area, that might be a bigger challenge. But if you've been working in the area, you probably have a dentist, right? And all the people that work at the dentist's office, you're probably banking somewhere, and everybody in that bank should know that you're in real estate and you want the opportunity to be the agent that they would refer their friends and family to. And the way to do that is don't go through the drive-through. Get yourself out of the car and walk into the bank and introduce yourself to everybody.
That's a great
That was
point.
something I
If you're
learned.
doing bold, they have the memory jogger, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, even if you've been in the business forever, there's people you go, oh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, it used to be the old telephone book, back when there was
Yeah.
telephone books, this telephone book exercise. So like accountants, you know, Scott Joyner, everybody in Scott Joyner's office. Just think about all the people you interact with on a daily basis, and you know, there's opportunities that'll show up in front of you. If you look at it, the old saying, change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So if you just start keeping your eyes open for opportunity out there, things that you never would have thought of as an opportunity to have a real estate conversation with somebody are going to show up. And if you are new to the area, you know, there's organizations like the Chamber of Commerce, there's Team Punta Gorda and Punta Gorda, there's you know, all kinds of ways you can get involved in an organization to turn the people in that organization into your Met database.
If you're new to the area also,
What's that?
probably, if you're new to the area, the best source is open houses. Do open houses.
Yeah, I would agree with that too. Yeah, so open houses, if you're doing them properly, is a great way for new agents to get started. And if you want to go that route and you want to shadow somebody to kind of get started in that realm, you know, let us know and we'll find somebody that you can shadow. And then say you're comfortable doing an open house by yourself, but you don't have any inventory because you haven't been doing enough lead generation for listings. He's not paying attention.
I am.
If-
I heard you.
If you need inventory, then to do an open house, then come let us know and we'll help you find the right house to do it at, because not every open house location's equal, right?
There's a fantastic training on our YouTube page.
Yeah, we have great
She
training, right?
kills it at open houses. She does 52 a year.
Who's
And
that?
Kasha Olek,
Okay.
we did a Zoom call with her. She's from,
Australia.
well, yeah, but she's over in somewhere in
Omaha.
the Midwest,
Omaha.
Omaha, yeah, and she does 52 a year. Something like 80% of her business comes from open houses, and she's like $1 million agent.
Right, so my suggestion, she probably,
Kills it.
I mean,
And she's
And
great.
she knew nobody because she was from Australia and she was
Yeah, so
thrown
she
into
just
the
did
planes.
5 a week.
so I bet you she's very strategic in where she
Mhm.
does her open houses and how she built that business. My suggestion would be, you know, find an area that you're comfortable with or an area where there's property that you want to focus your business on. Like if you want to focus on waterfront properties, then, you know, find a good open house to do in a waterfront area. If you want to focus on Deep Creek, you know, then that could be in a farm area for you. But the more open houses you do in the same area, you'll build a bigger presence. And then when the people there understand what you're doing to get your people to your open houses, when they want to list their house, they're going to be coming to your open
Yeah.
house to talk to you about listing their houses. So it's a great way to do it, but you just need to, find a neighborhood that's got decent turnover. You don't want to be trying to farm an area that doesn't have much activity going on in it, because that's just not going to generate that much
How many
business.
agents are in Charlotte County now in our board?
Honestly, I'm not sure exactly, but probably around 1,400.
That's what I was gonna say, yeah.
So working about 50.
Yeah, if you take 1,400 and then look at all the
It's like
ones that are
10%.
producing something, it's probably
It's true. Everyone.
probably about half of them are doing any level of business. They might have to be doing one transaction so far this year. And then if you look at, like, say, the top 20%, well, the top 100 agents are probably doing 500,000 or so per month. Yeah, so it's the 80-20 principle on steroids. So anyway, yeah, open houses is a great way to get started if you're a new agent. And if you need help with that, let us know, and we'll get you going. But you want to pick a good location. You want to pick something you're comfortable with, and a place that has enough activity to turn it really into a business and not just a one-off. So, but anyway, to get back to the contacts again, if you're struggling at all with like the command stuff, getting people into command, just try to get 5 people in there every day. And you want to get them with a cell phone number, you want their email address, and you want their physical address so you can set them up. So command will actually set them up on a landing page for their neighborhoods. So, and that tool, once they get that mobile app out, the consumer app out, you're going to be able to keep your customers on your website instead of going off to Zillow and Trulia, because the information is going to be accurate for one, and it's going to be a full experience. That's why, like, Redfin's taken a lot of business market share away from Zillow, because Zillow doesn't really have a good consumer experience. All they have is this estimate.
So once you have them in command, that's another thing we need to set them up on that.
It's very easy.
I'm like command.
It's another,
We can
It's an-
schedule.
it's another
if you want,
dozen
we can
classes,
Schedule a
yeah.
time and I can go through it with you, but it's very simple. As far as the neighborhoods, literally you have to put in their information, and then it says neighborhood, and you put in where you want them. You click the exact area, and you're done. And you can put them in more than one too, so that they're receiving. Like I have a lady who they have a home up in Ohio, but they bought a house for me in Venice, so I have them set up in both neighborhoods. She loves it. I talked to her yesterday because I was doing my quarterly calls. And she was like, "Oh, it's so neat! I can see everything that's going on in my area." She thinks it's great.
Yeah, that's perfect. I mean, nobody else has that. I mean, and then on top of that, you can help them find a great agent anywhere practically in the world now. So if your buyers are coming from someplace out of town, make sure they're asking them if you're working with an agent where they're coming from, because that's a golden opportunity to set them up with a referral agent. And now that we have that referral network, that's also something that makes it so easy to refer business to somebody else out of town and know a lot more about the person you're sending the business to, instead of just
You can pick the agent
taking a
that you want,
chance. Yeah. So you can be a lot more selective as to who you're referring business to.
I actually use that when I tell people why they should let me refer them. I tell them because I can look up who the best agents are in your area, so I make sure you're getting with the best buyers agent and the best selling agent.
Yeah.
So you moved here from where?
From New York,
Okay, that was just how long ago?
a couple months.
Okay,
I mean,
so
we've had the house down here for a while, but we're down here permanently finally.
yeah. So that's another reason why with the tool, I mean, you probably have a lot of contacts from your business up there. You should be setting all those people up too, because they know people that might come down here.
And everybody wants to move to Florida.
Yeah,
Or
everybody,
buy it,
especially
that's
from the
the
high tax
problem down
states,
here, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Everybody's escaping the high tax states. So I think somebody posted something the other day that there's like 200, how many people a day coming up? 300,000? 300,000 people coming to Florida now a day. So you want to get a piece of that
And
business.
Punta Gorda was just ranked 3rd out of the top 20 cities in the country of where people are moving to.
Oh, really?
And Fort Myers was just ranked by 2 different places. I can't remember the big places. They were ranked #1 place to retire just recently. Fort Myers.
Oh, well, surprised. But You know, so we've got so much stuff going on around here. There's plenty of information to share with your customers. So. And also, if you haven't built a little team of referral agents in different places around the country, that's another source of potential income or leads. So if you're from wherever you're from, you know, New York, St. Louis, whatever, I would be reaching out to the agents up in that area and try to build a team of referral based to send your business down this way. And you can send business up that way too, but more people I think are coming here than a lot of other places. So I'm not sure, but how long is this class scheduled for? You guys know?
I thought it was an hour, but I don't know. I haven't had my day in the morning.
Oh, you do it? Okay. So as far as this model goes, you guys check your email and see if you got this. If you sit down with it and start playing around with it and you want somebody to go through it with you, you know, David or I could sit down with you and kind of go through your numbers. And then, like I said, we'll probably start offering something like this on a monthly basis. Not that you need to come to something like this every month, but we could start little, I think what your idea was, John, is like maybe quarterly to set up workshops where people could discuss how their business is going. And
setting up the business and try to use follow-up, because one of the tough things is if you just look at this once a year and forget about it, then all of a sudden it's October again and you're like, you know, did I meet any of this stuff? Well, I got to dig it out again. And then you do a refresh for the next year and then you're looking at it once again. So it's really the kind of thing you should need to look at least monthly.
Yeah.
But if we get together once a quarter and try to do it together, then it refreshes everybody.
I was going to see if I could find agent's multi-year trends report. Does anybody in here know, have they gone in to get their multi-year trends report?
I think you just go to what reports on my transactions, right? Or, I mean, not on my transactions, but on your main page,
Your dashboard.
on your dashboard, and go over to reports under your name, under your profile.
I know I'm
Project
not
your show
supposed
off
to be
again.
going in my KW. What is it? You're supposed to be getting under agent.
That's what, I still go under my KW.KW.
So this is actually Brenda Yates. I don't know how she's got onto this computer, but
Someone knows.
Somebody messed with the. That's what you get for grabbing the computer in the office and logging in. You're a permanent example.
wonder if I can change that. Anyway, so this is a dashboard, right?
We can't see it.
So, oh, you can.
We need to refresh. Oh, it's right here.
Yep.
What we gonna do? You know what we're gonna do?
Throw it. Throw
Well, I guess if you go into your dashboard, does everybody know how to get to their dashboard? Okay. And just under your profile there is a link called reports. Just gonna do it here. Okay, so I clicked on reports underneath Brenda's profile picture, and then let's see if
Yeah, that's for the overall.
trends, yeah. Let's see, maybe it's under. There it is. So if you go into reports and just look at associate, the multi-year trends report is.
Stay in line. Gotta be quick.
It's gonna be straight. Oh my God. And you can make this one of your favorites too. Actually, it should be. Oh my God.
Can you click on associate first? Just click on it. Click on it. No, in cell. How about click on the associate?
What the heck
It
am I
say it
doing?
will bring. Click on it.
All right.
Slowly. There it is. Oh,
I appreciate that we're still live right now, by the way.
Oh, it's still on?
Oh, yeah.
It's like, do they
So-
know what they doing?
So anyway, you saw how we did that. So
I think it's
it'll
pretty
go,
obvious we don't.
it'll go back through and show you, like, back to, in Brenda's case, back to 2015, you know, her business. And it'll give you some view of, like, it's probably going to show us, like, your average sales price, and then it should get down to show her what her average commission rate is too.
Now, yeah, the income stuff goes in automatically because of the, when you write the contract, it goes in through the,
And hers is
comes from a green sheet and everything.
Yeah,
But as
she's-
far as listings taken and all that stuff, you really need to enter information in there.
Mm-hmm.
When you do your appointments through Kelly, that should be pulling all this stuff through now for CGI
Yeah,
appointments.
so that's one of the benefits of using Kelly and Command to track your activity, because then you'll be able to use this report at a much higher level. But some of the numbers we were talking about, like average sales price and all, if all your information's in here, then it's going to be right there for you. You're not going to have to guess what your average sales price is, or have some other tracking device. You can track everything through Command. Okay. So as far as lead generation goes, we talked about the your Mets versus non-Mets. So if you try to build up your Met database, like I said, just 5 a day, but what else could you be doing besides just calling your people you know?
Asking them for referrals.
What's that?
Asking them for referrals.
Yeah, asking the people you know for referrals. Yeah, so if you haven't done this, if you're still building your Command database, have you ever heard of Mayor Script? You just want to earn the opportunity to be the person that they would refer their friends and family to. So you can just call up people that are in your database already and just ask them if they have, God bless you, if they have an agent that they would refer their friends and family to. And if you know them at a high enough level, hopefully they're going to say, well, it would be you, of course. And then you're just solidifying that relationship, right? So then the next question would be, well, great to hear that, but would you be open to receiving would you like to see our great new technology where you can track the activity in your neighborhood? And hopefully they're going to tell you yes, because a lot of people in your database, what they found was most of us have gotten away from getting addresses from people. So we have phone numbers and email addresses, but a lot of people we don't. So fill the gaps, as David says, go through your database and see who do you have that has all of those things. If you got all those things done, or did.
Even though we're kind of a tech society now, you'll find most neighbors are still as nosy as they used to be.
Oh yeah,
So
for sure.
you can tell them, they can watch what's going on in their neighborhood.
Great point.
That's gonna be a selling point to get their address and plug them in.
And that's what you do if you're doing an open house, right? One of the things you're going to do is, hey, would you like to be able to track all the activity in the neighborhood? If you do, put them right into your app, right there, right into
It might
Kelly.
not be the perfect approach to get their attention, but the purpose is to get their attention.
If they're coming to your open house and they live in that neighborhood, they're kind of wanting to know what's going on. So that's a perfect way to get them into your database, and then they're yours. Because if they go into my database or my open house down the street and you didn't do it and I do it, guess what? You're out. I got them. Because it's hard to, you can change people's apps. Like if somebody's in my app and they want to be in Terry's app, then you can do that, but it's not real easy to do it. And the way it's set up is once somebody gets into an agent's app, they're kind of branded to that person. So that's why you want to get as many people on your app as possible. But yeah, you want to get their address, their email address, and their phone number. So if you're doing an open house, you should definitely have that available for the people to get into your database. Just trying to think. Go
Oh, sorry, a neat collection tool that we just started using, that somebody actually told us about in a class that we took, was to, instead of handing out the sheet of, the MLS sheet to everybody, create a file before your open house that has any permits that you can pull, the tax appraiser's website, all that stuff, the MLS sheet, seller's disclosure, put it all in a file, put all the pictures from the MLS right into a Google Drive file, and then say, oh, you want all the information? What's your email address?
Oh, that's a great idea.
And you capture it and send it to them right away. And I've had a much higher rate of success in getting actual email addresses that way, because the minute they ask a question about a house, I go, you know what? I have all the information. Let me send it to you. And then they have it, and you go, yep. And you can actually, see if they're, really serious or not.
So are you getting phone numbers too?
Yeah, I get their phone numbers too. I send it. Tell them I send it. You can send a Google Drive invitation through text
Text,
and
you can,
email.
okay.
So I can get both that way.
So that's a great idea,
Do you know what I do?
What's that?
I tell them, and I do, I just did this the other day. I have a Echo Dot, so when they come in, I'm like, oh yeah, at the end of the day, I'm gonna raffle off an Echo Dot, so give me all your information.
Yeah.
So,
There's something wrong with throwing that
Raffles,
stuff.
absolutely.
The trick is then you get all this information, then so you got to follow up, right? You got to do your follow up. There was a guy, Rob Daniels, that did bowl here one time. He's a bowl coach, and he used to always say that lead generation will make you money, but the follow up is where you're going to make the big money.
Yeah.
And I can think of dozens of times when I dropped the ball and didn't follow up, and found out somebody went and did a deal with somebody else because I didn't follow up.
You used to be better at that.
And you also need to talk to the people that you do know, friends and family, because if you don't talk to them about earning the right to be the realtor that they would refer their friends and family to, they might think you don't want to work with them. You might not want to work with friends and family. So don't make that mistake either. I mean, I almost lost like a $750,000 sale one time because like my best friend thought I only did commercial real estate. And at the time I was doing residential. But what I was putting out was that I was a commercial real estate agent. So he called me up, thankfully, when he got ready to move to Pennsylvania and said, would I mind helping him sell his house in Pirate Harbor? And at the time, everybody thought they were $1 million houses, but that's when the market started kind of going down. And it was really like, I think we sold it for like $750,000. But God, think about how I would have felt if I pulled up to the house one day and somebody else was in the shelter. But it would have been my fault because I didn't tell.
There's nothing worse than watching the MLS every day and seeing an address pop up that you've spent days or weeks working that seller on, and for some reason you drop the ball and it shows up as newly listed.
The truth of the matter is most agents don't spend days or weeks following up with somebody. Most of them make a phone call, like an expired listing or for sale by owner. They call and they say, no, I don't want to relist it, or no, I want to do it myself. And I say, okay, and they hang up and they never call back again. But for sale by owners is a perfect example. Like if you follow up with for sale by owners, statistics prove that eventually most of them, a really high percentage of them, I forget what the current stats say.
I think it's 82
Yeah, I was going
or
to say it's something like 80% are going to list with an agent, and they're probably going to list with
Flippers.
there's probably one or two agents that they might talk to. Whoever's following up is the agent that they're going to probably list with,
Yeah, just feed them.
because they want somebody that's hungry and they want somebody that's going to, be in contact with them. So if you're staying in touch with them and you're just kind of coming from contribution, so that when you have that conversation with them, yeah, you want to ask for the listing, but don't be so aggressive that you're pushing them further away. You can offer some suggestion. Or if they tell you they're going to do an open house, follow up on Monday after the open house and say, hey, how did that open house go? And they're going to tell you, oh, I got 3 big prospects. Like, did anybody make an offer? And then at the end of the week, when they still haven't gotten an offer from any of those people, you could offer to do an open house for them if they don't want to do them themselves. So, there's a lot of different ways that you can get your face in front of people. It's just a matter of being persistent is one. And that's probably other than not lead generating on a regular basis, on a daily basis, the other mistake most agents make is not being persistent with the people that they should be following up with.
And those are the ones that you know are serious about selling. They're already
Right.
on the market. The expireds are already on the market. I work those faithfully. Those are for sale by owners.
Yep.
They've got a sign in their yard. So you know they're not just thinking about selling.
Right, right. So, I don't know. So it's getting on 10:30 here, so you guys wanna, is there anything else we didn't cover that you guys wanted to talk about? Or is there any questions about what we did talk about?
I think I have for a quick second before I leave.
But yeah, once you get a chance to open that up, if you wanna play with it, and if you wanna sit down with one of us, don't hesitate to do that. And then I think we'll probably try to get the next class set up sooner, so people have more lead time to come to it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
How about like the first Wednesday of next month, like the 6th?
As far as I know, that works for me, but.
Do we want to?
We'll check it.
Yeah.
We'll check
Look
it.
at the timing.
We'll put out something today.
We're gonna do it at 9 o'clock in the
No.
morning.
Or do we want to do
Yeah,
we want to do an after?
we're trying to move a lot of our stuff to the afternoon, so we're not interfering with the time that you should be doing your lead generation. Right?
Yep.
All right, so everybody good?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah.